What's going on, fight fans? UFC Fight Night, Tatsuro Taira versus Alex Perez this Saturday. I'm going to go over the best fights, the best bets, the best picks for the card. Starting off in the prelims, fight number one, we've got Shayla Nerdenbeck versus Melchizedek Costa. Both these guys, really strong grapplers. Nerdenbeck, more of a top controlling grappler. He's more of a wrestler, strong upper body. 39 and 11 records, so a lot of fights on his resume. Going against Melchizedek Costa, Melky's 20-7, 1-2 in the UFC. His most recent fight coming as a TKO loss to Steve Garcia. Both these guys actually, most recent fight coming as a TKO loss to Steve Garcia. When I watch this fight, when I think about it, I think Shaylin, as the plus 150 underdog, is going to go in there and try and enforce a wrestling base. I think Melky's job is going to stay along the outside and piece him up. If it goes to the ground, I think Melky is more than willing to engage in the grappling scrambles. But I think he is a little complacent on the bottom. Sometimes he gets stuck in bottom position and he can't really get out of there. So for that reason, I'm going to say Nerdenbeek probably by decision in fight number one. Fight number two, we've got Julia Pilastri versus Josephine Knutson. Julia Pilastri plus 185 underdog here. She's 12-3, 0-0 in the UFC. She's coming off of a rear naked choke win in the Contender Series. That was her second fight in the Contender Series. She's 1-1 in her Contender Series, with her loss being to Jasmine Jasudavicius, who we know. Knutson, 7-0, 1-0 in the UFC, her win being a decision win over Marnik Man. Marnik Man, not the best talent in my opinion, so would have liked to see a finish out of her. Going into this fight, I think Knutson's going to have the advantage. She's a high-level kickboxer, plenty of kickboxing matches in her career. She does tend to point fight. She is more of a decision-based fighter, so she might just win 2 rounds and then take the 3rd round off. I'm going to Knutson by decision. I think it's a pretty easy bet here. Fight number 3, we've got Jekka Sergi versus Weston Wilson. Shout out Weston Wilson. If you know, you know. He is 0-2 in the UFC, 6-9 overall. He's been knocked out twice. He's, my notes say terrible. It is what it is. 6'1" featherweight. He's 145 pounds, 6'1". Doesn't take a lot to put him down, that's for sure. Jekka Sergi, 14-3, 1-1 in the UFC. His most recent being a KO victory over Lucas Alexander. He is explosive. He has heavy hands. His technique isn't the best, but he uses his explosiveness to get in and put those hands on people. I think this will be Weston Wilson's last fight in the UFC. He is 0-2. He's about to be 0-3, probably last fight on the deal. Weston, good luck out there, man, but it's probably your time. Jekka Sergi by knockout first round. Fight number 4, we've got Carly Judas versus Gabriela Fernandez. Gabriela Fernandez, minus 230 favorite in this spot. She is 0-2 in the UFC, 8-3 overall. Her most recent fight being a decision loss to Teresa Bleza. Her back's against the wall in this fight. She's going up against Carly Judas, 3-1. 0-0, coming off of a split decision versus Ernesta Karakady. Carly Judas is a ground and pound specialist. She is 3-1. The UFC must see something in her to have her in the show at 3-1 record overall. I'm going to trust that the UFC knows what they're doing. She's a plus 190 underdog, which is pretty big for somebody with like debuting versus an 0-2 fighter, which just shows that the odds makers are respecting that she only has 4 fights total. I think that she'll probably get the job done decision or by ground and pound. Wrestler versus an 0-2 fighter, I'm going to take the wrestler. Fight number 5, we have Garrett Armfield versus Brady Heastand, and this is a fight that I love. I think you guys are going to really enjoy watching this fight as well. Garrett Armfield is a very well-rounded fighter, his most recent fight being a decision victory over Brad Katona. 2-1 in the UFC, 10-3 overall. He's going up against Brady Heastand, who's 7-2, 2-1 overall. He was a runner-up in the Ultimate Fighter season, where Ricky Tercios won. His most recent fight, he had a KO victory over Dana Batgaral. And what he's shown is 2-1 in the UFC. Every single fight he is improving. It's 25 years old, and he is a strong kid at 25 years old. He's just going to keep growing into his body type. And plus 140 underdog here. I really like Brady Heastand to take this fight down and get some ground and pound going. I think Heastand by late round finish or decision would be a good moneymaker here. But I really love Heastan paying the underdog position here versus Armfield in fight number 5. Fight number 6, we've got Nate Maness versus Jimmy the Brick Flick. Jimmy Flick is going to be a 310 underdog in this place. He is 2-2 in the UFC, 17-7 overall. His most recent victory being an arm triangle choke over Malcolm Gordon. It's going to be an interesting matchup. He's going against a long flyweight in Nate Maness. Nate Maness 4-2 overall in the UFC, 50-3 overall. His most recent fight being a TKO victory over Matus Medikondia, who hadn't had many losses before. The only note I have on Maness is he's a durable fighter. His chin is in question. Sometimes he gets dropped. He's always come back from getting dropped, but he has been clipped a couple of times. Jimmy Flick's not going to be the guy that clips you. Jimmy Flick wants a jiu-jitsu match in this spot. I look for Jimmy to either pull guard, look for a takedown, but Jimmy don't really like getting hit in the face that much. So if it comes to a boxing fight, I think Nate Maness blows him away with this one. If Jimmy can get this to the ground, it makes the matchup a lot more interesting. I say Maness, but I think the over 2.5 rounds here is going to be nice. So breaking down the main card, we start in the welterweight division with Adam Fuggett versus Josh Quinlan. This fight is going to be a true pick'em fight, both fighters standing at -110. Adam Fuggett 1-2 in the UFC, 9-4 overall, versus Josh Quinlan 1-2 in the UFC, 6-2 overall. Very interesting matchup here. Both these guys are in a win or lose and you're out kind of situation. Both 1-2 in the UFC. Very interesting. If you lose this matchup, you could get cut after this one. Neither of these guys want to get cut from the UFC. Adam Fuggett coming off of a guillotine loss to Mike Malott, and Josh Quinlan coming off of a KO loss to Danny Barlow. Both these guys have shown the ability to win in the big show. Adam Fuggett, very long welterweight, not as fast, very slow twitch. Going against Josh Quinlan has the fast twitch. That's the only difference in this matchup. He's a fast twitch and he's explosive, very explosive with KO power. Fuggett is more of a take you down, get maybe a submission, TKO decision. Josh Quinlan has that KO power. For that reason, in this pick'em fight, I'm going to trust the KO power of Josh Quinlan. We're going to disregard the fact that he used to be on steroids. We're going to hope that he gets back on the steroids and gets a win for us, you know? Josh Quinlan -110. I think he could knock out Adam Fuggett in the first round. Going to the next fight in the main card, we've got Asu Alambaev versus Jose Johnson. Jose Johnson is going to be a +320 underdog in this spot. 1-1 in the UFC, 16-8 overall, with his most recent fight being a rear naked choke victory over the Canadian Chan and Helliger. Jose Johnson is a 6-foot-tall flyweight. So that is a huge flyweight, considering I believe the guy that he's going against is 5'4" in Asu Alambaev. 6-foot-tall flyweight. He's a striker. Very interesting matchup because he is going up against the 2-0 in the UFC, 19-2 overall Alambaev, who is most recently coming off of a decision victory over CJ Vergara on the Sean O'Malley Chito Vera card. Alambaev has a 15-fight win streak. Most of those victories coming either by decision or chokes. I find this is an interesting thing because if it was arm bars or joint submissions, he would have had a better advantage versus Jose Johnson being a long guy. The chokes doesn't really help him all that much. He's going to have a long frame to try and choke out. I think this fight's a lot closer on paper than the betting odds show. I think the 6-foot length of Jose Johnson is going to be pretty tough to get inside of by Alambaev being a grappler. I like this fight not to go the decision. I'm not sure who's going to win. I'd say safe money's on Alambaev, but if you're feeling spicy, might as well bet on Jose, you know what I'm saying? We'll take it to the next fight. We've got Miles John versus Douglas Silva de Andrade. This fight is another one very close to a pick'em. Miles John is the slight underdog, the slightest underdog. He's 5-2 in the UFC, 1 no contest, 14-2 overall. His most recent fight being a decision victory versus Cody Gibson. Douglas Silva de Andrade, on the other hand, 29-5, 7-5 overall, with the most recent fight being a decision victory versus Cody Stamann. In my notes, both of these guys I just have a wrestler. Both of them are wrestlers. They're both going to try to take each other down and defend the takedowns. But the great thing about the UFC is most of the times when we get a wrestler versus a wrestler, that cancels each other out, and that means we're going to have a striking match. So keeping that in mind, I think Both these guys are strong, explosive strikers. They don't really tend to last the entire 15 minutes. I think Douglas Silva D'Andrade has shown the ability to keep his chin together a lot better. Miles John has been clipped a couple of times. I think if this fight is wrestler, cancel out, stand up, I think Douglas Silva D'Andrade has a better chance of victory in this one. However, any of these guys could change my opinion of the fight by just landing a takedown on the other. If either of these guys are on their back, it's going to be tough for them to get back up against the wrestlers. Interesting matchup. I think this one goes over 1.5. If I had to bet on a horse, I'd say Douglas Silva D'Andrade, just because that guy is built like a fucking rock. No reason other than that. We'll take you to the next fight. We've got Lucas Almeida versus Timmy Kawamba. Timmy Kawamba, minus 180 our favorite here. He's 0-1 in the UFC, 8-2 overall. His one UFC fight being a split decision loss to Balaji Oki. That was Balaji Oki on short notice, and I believe that was across the pond, if I'm correct. He is a 25-year-old stand-up banger. He will fucking bang it out with you. Timmy Kawamba, sharp combinations. His grappling hasn't been tested as much, so it's a very big question mark. Lucas Almeida, on the other hand, 1-2 in the UFC. He's been knocked out by Andre Fili in his most recent fight. When I have the notes on Almeida, he is an explosive first-round fighter. He is gritty. His technique isn't the highest in my opinion, and I think that's going to ultimately come back to bite him versus Timmy Kawamba in this matchup, because he's going to need to be sharp on his feet. Almeida has a path to victory. If he takes him down, Kawamba, like I said, we don't know about his grappling, could potentially get the back, choke him out. But I love Timmy Kawamba in this spot. I think Timmy Kawamba is a great pick to win the fight here. I like Timmy Kawamba by finish. Almeida has shown that he kind of quits once it doesn't look like it's going his way. So I'd say second round, third round finish Timmy Kawamba. If he doesn't get him out of the first, can make some money. Which will bring us to the main event. We've got the flyweights. Alex Perez, plus 165 underdog versus Tatsuro Taira, minus 200. Taira, 5-0 in the UFC, 15-0 overall. His most recent victory being a KO victory versus Carlos Hernandez. Taira is the best prospect out of Japan to win a title. This guy is a high-level grappler. He improving every single fight with his striking. This guy, he's going to be tough to beat in the flyweight division. He hasn't shown a lot of flaws in his game. Going against the veteran Alex Perez, coming off of a main event victory versus Matus Nicolau, KO'd him. That was a huge win for him. That was his first win in 4 years, and he's looking to build upon that by getting right back into the octagon and getting another main event. This is his chance, career resurgent. He's trying to put back-to-back wins together. This guy has an incredible leg kick. He's going to go out there and he's going to test Tatsuro Taira in every area of this fight. I think that this is just a really good matchup for Taira and Alex Perez. Alex Perez has the chance to go out there and be a veteran, show his capabilities versus Taira, whose cardio hasn't been questioned very much. If Alex Perez can take Taira into the later rounds, it's going to be very interesting, going to a place where Taira's never been before. That being said, I think Taira has a lot of paths to victory here too. I think he can take him down. I think he can choke him out. Alex Perez has shown the ability, or the lack of ability, to defend submissions in the past. I think if I had to bet on this fight, I love Tatsuro Taira. I'm going to take him as the slight favorite versus Perez, but don't count out Perez here. If Perez lands that early leg kick, it's going to be a tough day for Taira. Ultimately, I think he gets him to the ground, though, and he takes his back and chokes him out, but it'll be an interesting matchup to watch, and I'm really excited to see. I got a couple picks for you guys tonight. My best picks. Last week, we went 3-0 on our picks, so make sure you're sticking around to the end to watch the picks. This week, we've got Tatsuro Taira, Timmy Kawamba, Brady Heastan. Those are Wars picks for the week. 3-0 last week. We're looking to go 3-0 again this week. Let's see if we do that. We love all those guys in their betting positions. Brady Heastan as an underdog. Make sure you cash it this week, boys. Some money makers this week. Some prop bets that I like. Maybe you should sprinkle on. I think Ikram versus Tricoli. I think that's over 1.5. If Tricoli can avoid the early onslaught, He's going to take that into the later rounds. This guy is a decision guy. Tricoli's a decision guy. So if you can get it over that 1.5, I think it's going to make money for us. Ooh, knock the camera. And then lastly, the next moneymaker I like is Josh Van by finish. This guy's paying plus 180 as an underdog. Josh Van to finish a tough Dagestani and Tahir Ulanbekov. It's going to make you some money. I don't know if it's going to hit, but I really like it to hit. He's a sharp boxer, and I think he's going to knock Tahir clean out in the first round. Those are my best bets, my best picks. Thank you for watching. UFC Fight Night this weekend. Perez versus Tyra. Like, comment, subscribe. Deuce.